the deficit or trade or the U.S. position in the world, all of those things. The senators, there are many senators who chafed a great deal about that. And now the question for impeachment is what they're going to do. My dream solution to this was actually that a week ago, Mitch McConnell and 20 Republican senators went up to Donald Trump and said, "We're going to vote to convict you unless you say that you haven't proved any election fraud and that was all bogus. And if that's the case, we'll not vote to convict you. But unless you make that statement, we will." So at this point, I kind of agree with Rick. I mean, I think that he is a danger. It's better for the future of the Republican Party if he's not around and part of it. I'm not sure that the votes are there, though. But one other interesting point is I don't know if Donald Trump has dropped a bunch of pardons in the time we've been on the call, yeah. but I think that the agony, the slowness of that is due in large part because if he goes too crazy on the pardons, like he pardoned some of the insurrectionists or pardoned himself or pardoned his family, that's going to play to the jury in the Senate in a really big way.
Before we go to the audience questions, can we just talk a little bit about the Electoral College and if you think that there should be any changes made to that process, which at least this year seemed sort of fraught with potential disaster every single step of the way. Do you think there should be some changes made in that, Ben?
Well, I think Rick and I will agree in part on this and disagree on part of this. I think we would agree that the Electoral Count Act of 1887, which governs the way the Electoral College votes, is a muddled law that desperately needs to be changed in case this happens again. As for the Electoral College itself, I think, first of all, there's no chance of it happening in a 50-50 Senate. And secondly, I think it would be a bad policy because I think it is a democratic, political way to sort of change the voting system in their favor. And the historical compromise that was the hallmark of the Electoral College so that all parts of the country play a role is probably still a wise way to do it. And I think that there is a possibility for Electoral College reform, but it will only come at a time when Republicans somehow get burnt by the Electoral College as well.
So I agree that Electoral College reform, in terms of eliminating the Electoral College, is not in the cards right now. Both Republicans and those in small states, I think, would oppose it. You need supermajorities to change the Constitution. So I don't think it's realistically on the table. But what I think should be on the table, and Ben wrote an important op-ed on this, and I wrote a follow-up on this, there's lots of places where we need to get rid of the discretion that certain people have in terms of how electoral votes are counted. So, for example, when Pennsylvania or Alabama votes, and the votes have been certified in time for election contests to be passed, and we know that Biden won Pennsylvania and Trump won Alabama, that should be pretty much automatic. There shouldn't be somebody that has to write a piece of paper that has to be mailed in or that has to be opened and counted and confirmed by Congress in a way that when there's no real dispute. I understand you need to have dispute resolution mechanisms if, for example, there's a very close election and there are two potential answers to the question of who won that election. But I remember there were 25,000 people watching the Wayne County Canvassing Board meeting online. I think all three of us were among them. But people, I spent the last 2 months, I felt like as a national therapist, people were writing every lawsuit, every, probably you know, experiences as well. Everybody's worried, well, is there going to be some twist, some